In the early hours of November 29th, 1981, the film world awoke to devastating news. Natalie Wood, one of Hollywood's most luminous stars, had died off the coast of Catalina Island. Her body was discovered floating in dark, quiet water near a yacht where she had spent the evening with her husband and friends. What initially appeared to be a tragic accident soon became something far more unsettling. Small details raised lasting questions, unanswered timelines, and emotional contradictions that refused to fade. Natalie Wood was not just another celebrity, she was a symbol of classic cinema, a face associated with innocence, vulnerability, and grace. Her death shocked audiences not only because of its suddenness, but because it felt deeply out of character. A woman known to fear water, gone in the sea, under circumstances no one could clearly explain. From that night forward, her passing became one of Hollywood's most enduring mysteries. A childhood shaped by spotlight and pressure. Natalie Wood was born on July 20th, 1938, in San Francisco to a family struggling to find stability. From a very young age, her life was shaped by ambition and expectation. Acting was not a hobby introduced gently. It became her world before she fully understood choice. By age 4, she was already working in films, learning lines, meeting directors, and absorbing adult pressures few children could process. While audiences saw a bright, gifted child, behind the scenes, Natalie carried responsibilities far beyond her years. Her days were tightly scheduled, her emotions carefully managed, her childhood compressed into rehearsals and performances. This early immersion in fame brought success, but also planted deep emotional patterns, discipline, silence, and compliance. She learned early that approval came from perfection. That lesson stayed with her, shaping how she navigated relationships, work, and personal fear for the rest of her life. Rising stardom and the cost of growing up, famous Natalie's rise through Hollywood was swift and extraordinary. By the late 1940s, she became a household name, most memorably through Miracle on 34th Street. Audiences embraced her as a symbol of post-war hope, while studios recognized her long-term value. As she grew older, roles followed one after another, leaving little space for normal adolescence. Schooling happened around sets, friendships were fleeting, and emotional growth unfolded under constant observation. Natalie became adept at presenting composure, even when overwhelmed. This environment rewarded professionalism but rarely offered protection. While her performances matured, the internal cost remained invisible. She transitioned from child star to teenage actress without pause, carrying unresolved fears and insecurities beneath her polished exterior. Fame brought admiration, but also isolation. The world saw a confident young woman, while inside she remained someone still learning how to feel safe, heard, and whole, becoming an icon in a changing Hollywood. As Natalie entered adulthood, her career evolved into something remarkable. Films like Rebel Without a Cause, Splendor in the Grass, and West Side Story transformed her from a former child star into a defining figure of her generation. These roles allowed her to explore vulnerability, longing, and emotional conflict with striking authenticity. Critics praised her depth, and audiences connected deeply with her characters. Yet the industry around her was shifting. Hollywood still expected women to fit narrow molds, even as stories demanded complexity. Natalie balanced public admiration with private uncertainty, often pushing herself to meet expectations that left little room for rest. Despite acclaim and award recognition, she remained cautious, sensitive to criticism, and deeply affected by pressure. Her performances reflected emotional truth, perhaps because she understood fragility so intimately. Success never erased the quiet weight she carried beneath the applause. Love, marriage, and emotional fragility. Natalie Wood's personal life unfolded under intense public attention. Her romantic relationships, particularly her marriages, were often portrayed as fairy tales by the press. In reality, they were shaped by vulnerability, emotional need, and the difficulty of balancing independence with connection. She longed for stability and affection, yet struggled with insecurity and fear of abandonment. Like many who grow up too fast, she searched for reassurance through love, hoping it would provide safety she had never fully known. Her relationships reflected both deep devotion and emotional strain. Friends later described her as loving intensely, sometimes at her own expense. While outwardly glamorous, her private world was complex and fragile. These emotional patterns did not define her talent, but they shaped her choices. Natalie was not chasing drama. She was searching for peace in a life that had rarely slowed down long enough to offer it. Stepping back from fame and seeking balance, by the late 1960s and 1970s, Natalie began stepping away from the relentless pace of Hollywood. She became more selective with roles, shifting toward television and focusing more on family life. Motherhood brought her moments of calm and grounding, offering a sense of purpose beyond performance. Those close to her noted periods where she seemed more centered, more herself. Yet stepping back did not erase old anxieties. The pressures of fame, past expectations, and emotional vulnerability never fully disappeared. Natalie worked quietly, valuing privacy over publicity, connection over visibility. This phase of her life reflected a woman trying to redefine success on her own terms. She was no longer chasing constant acclaim, but rather balance, safety, and meaning. It was a quieter chapter, but one that revealed strength in choosing restraint over relentless ambition. The Catalina weekend and lingering questions. The Thanksgiving weekend of 1981 was meant to be a brief escape. A boat trip, familiar company, time away from work. Instead, it became the final chapter of Natalie Wood's life. What happened that night has been discussed, debated, and examined for decades. Conflicting recollections, incomplete timelines, and unanswered details have prevented clear closure. Investigators revisited the case years later, acknowledging that some elements could not be easily explained. Importantly, no definitive conclusion beyond uncertainty has ever been reached. What remains clear is that Natalie's death did not fit comfortably into simple explanations. Her known fears, the environment, and the delay in response raised concerns that continued to trouble both authorities and the public. Rather than answers, the case left an enduring sense of unresolved loss, marked by ambiguity rather than certainty. Media silence, re-examination, and public memory. For many years, Natalie Wood's death was quietly categorized and rarely challenged. Over time, renewed interest and evolving investigative standards prompted a careful re-examination. This was not about assigning blame, but about acknowledging uncertainty. The conversation shifted from speculation to reflection, emphasizing that unanswered questions deserve honesty rather than dismissal. Natalie's story became part of a larger discussion about how Hollywood handles tragedy, privacy, and unresolved truths. The media's role evolved as well, moving from sensationalism toward responsibility. Through it all, Natalie's legacy remained intact. Her work continued to resonate, her films reaching new generations. The mystery surrounding her death never defined her life, but it did remind the world that even icons deserve transparency, compassion, and careful remembrance. The legacy beyond the mystery. Natalie Wood's enduring legacy lies not in the circumstances of her death, but in the emotional honesty she brought to the screen. She represented vulnerability at a time when women were often expected to be decorative rather than complex. Her performances captured longing, fear, and resilience with rare sincerity. She influenced how audiences viewed female characters, paving the way for greater emotional depth in cinema. Beyond accolades and box office success, her impact rests in connection. Viewers recognized something real in her work, something human. Natalie was not flawless, and that is precisely why she remains relevant. Her life reflects both the brilliance and cost of early fame, reminding us that behind every star is a person navigating pressures unseen by the audience. Remembering Natalie Wood as a human being. Natalie Wood should be remembered first as a human being, not a headline or a mystery. She was a daughter, a mother, an artist, and a woman shaped by circumstances both extraordinary and difficult. Her story invites empathy rather than judgment, reflection rather than rumor. While unanswered questions remain, they do not diminish the grace she brought to her craft or the influence she left behind. Natalie lived in a world that often demanded silence, yet her performances spoke volumes. Decades later, her films still move audiences, her presence still felt. In remembering her, we honor not only a Hollywood legend, but a life lived under immense pressure with remarkable courage. Some stories do not end neatly, but they continue to matter. Natalie Wood's story is one of them.